Welcome to Tuttle Talk, a part of the Real Estate Radio Network. And now, live in studio, offering you a fresh perspective. He's your local real estate and finance expert. He's part of the Common Sense Party, and he's committed to teaching you how to win in any market. Your host, Andy Tuttle.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we teach you what the rich and the banks do, not what they tell you to do, and where we dispel the misconceptions of financial wellness and the local real estate market and show you how following a few key principles really can free you up to focus on the other important areas of your life, like your friends, your family, and the community. It's the most important hour of radio right here on 660 AM, The Answer, every Sunday, 3 p.m. I am your host, Andy Tuttle, NMLS number 184325. Been in the mortgage business for about 12 years now. I've seen a lot of people make great choices when it comes to real estate, their financial team, choosing the right mortgage, and using that as a financial instrument to create wealth over time. But more than that, I've seen people make mistakes based on the lowest cost provider, the lowest rate, and end up hurting themselves and their family. You know, we've got the lowest rates in our history and still the highest foreclosure rates, although those are going down. But the point is, it's not all about the rate, is it? There are a lot of other factors involved that you need to know, and there are a lot of other people that need to be involved besides just your lender and your real estate agent, and then everyone else is just kind of like, well, I have to use them. It's really not. I believe there's a better way. I believe that you need to focus on your insurance specialist, your financial advisor, your estate planner, the financial team that really is involved and engaged with you in a very important transaction in your life and how that bleeds into every other area of your life. And my hope is that by doing the due diligence with the experts that I bring on this and bringing on people that are successful at this, that have helped other people be successful at this, that you too can learn a couple of things that you can take back to your family and that you can have a prosperous future. That's why I do this show. I hope you find it valuable. I love your feedback. If you go to andytuttle.com and give me your questions, comments, or feedback about the show or your own life, your own story, I'd love to hear that there. You can also become a fan of the show, facebook.com/Tuttle Talk, and we'd love to hear from you there as well. Now, during the show, I like to make sure that you have an easy way to communicate with everyone involved. So no matter who it is, what expert it is, what little information or article or free gift or whatever that they may have that I bring on, it's always going to be the same number for you. That number is 469-319-0660. 469-319-0660, 0660. And you can text a lot of different things to that, or you can call that number. And I do that so that it's easy for you. So save that number in your phone, put that down as Tuttle Talk or Real Estate Radio or whatever you need to do, so that you know that you have this number, that if there's a real estate or a finance question, you need a referral to someone in that field, that you can call that number and I'll connect you to that person. I get the pleasure and the privilege to work with some of the best talent, not only in Dallas, but in the nation in all areas, finance and real estate. So I would love to make sure that you are dealing with one of those top people as well. Okay, today on the show, we got so much. Oh my gosh. Got a lot to do and cover today. There are some major FHA changes that we're going to get to here at the start that could drastically affect your ability or your friends or family's ability to buy a home, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. So you want to listen up, especially if you've had any kind of issues on your credit, and we'll tell you how to get around that and what to be prepared for. Also, do you have 30% down to put on a home? That's $60,000, Brian Moore, show producer here in studio with me. Do you have $60,000 to put down on a $200,000 home? Probably not.
No, definitely not.
Most people don't. And so what the QM, or the qualified mortgage, these are the new regulations that we've been talking about the last few weeks that are coming out January 1st. Some people want you to have that and are trying to push that that's required, and there are some major penalties if you don't. What are they thinking? I'll tell you about that here, too. Also, we're going to have another insurance Halloween horror story. Ooh, from John Allen at Texas Community Insurance. That was pretty good. That was my best Vincent Price. And then we'll keep you from getting your house haunted when we talk to Gabe Abshire, Utility Concierge, and show you how to keep that from happening and check. They'll even do that for you. They not only set up your utilities, your electricity, your service, your computer, all that stuff. They can help you connect with all that, but they also check to see if your house is haunted, which is important around Halloween. So make sure there are no ghosts in there. And then we'll get to our special guest, Laura Barnett and Robert DeLeon. Now, Laura Barnett is one of not only the top real estate agents in Dallas, but in the country. And she does over $20 million in personal sales in 2013. That's what she's on track to do, which is stellar for an agent, top 1%. And also, we'll have Robert DeLeon, who is the office manager over at REMAX DFW and Associates. So we're so pleased and privileged to have them on today. These are some true experts, and we're going to get to you about what's so special about Dallas, what are the trends coming up, going into the winter. And as always, one of the points of this show is to provide you, the homeowner or the person that wants to own a home, practical tips for buying and selling. So we'll get you some of that as well. And then we're going to get to Brian Moore with our favorite segment, my favorite segment, one of them. Every segment's my favorite segment. Who am I kidding? I like them all. We're going to get with more cool tech with Brian Moore. So, Brian, you tell me that today is not a day where you can, you're going to give me a real estate app, but there's going to be some cool piece of tech that you are going to share with us.
Yeah, I think you'll be impressed with this. Well, more to come.
Okay, you tell me. If I'm not impressed with this, if you're not impressed with this, I want you to make sure you write and tell on Facebook.com/Tuttle Talk, Brian, I'm not impressed. If at the end of the show you're not, make sure you put that. That will give me so much joy. Just say, Brian, I'm not impressed. Okay. Remember how you can reach out to us during the show, 469-319-0660. You can reach us after the show as well. That's our off-air hotline. And so by phone or text, you'll be able to do that. Okay. Markets today, man, this is crazy. So here's the thing, what's going on. Major FHA changes. So FHA has been trying to get out of the mortgage business, apparently, ever since the financial crisis, and they were like 80% of the loans. And they have been doing everything they can to kind of stop doing those loans. They've upped their mortgage insurance. The upfront went from 1.15 to 1.25 to 1.35%. Now it's at 1.75%. So in other words, if you're a first-time buyer and you don't have perfect credit, or you're any buyer and don't have that and you need to go FHA, it's going to cost you an additional, on a $200,000 loan, almost $4,000, right? $3,500 to buy that home. It's financed in, but it costs you that. It's basically it's like a risk tolerance, right? And so since they charge you that to mitigate their risk on that loan. It's still a great program. It's an awesome program, especially if you go back in our history and the rates are just as good as conventional loan. It just costs a little bit more because you're a little bit more risk. Okay, that makes sense. Now, though, they're continuing to get more and more, they're getting tighter and tighter. In a time where the rhetoric on the Hill and through the media is that they're doing everything they can to help the underprivileged, help the low to medium income earner, help the minority, all of that, right? All of this stuff. We're here to help, and then yet everything is getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. One of those things with FHA is that now there used to be no collection limit. So if you had old collections, medical is obviously always excluded. But if you had collections from your past, when you were a young punk like Brian was at one point, and we're doing some stupid things.
Last year.
There was no limit on that. As long as you showed an ability to repay now, you've been paying on time for 12 months on your rent or your mortgage or anything else, and your cars, and you can show good credit, then you can have those collections. It wouldn't hurt you. Well, now there's a $2,000 collection total. So that adds up very quickly. Even on a small collection, when it gets sold off again over years, you can have $2,000 in collections very quickly. And so for a lot of homeowners out there and a lot of people out there that are young and trying to buy a home and need to get into this market, and we want them in the market. So here's what happens. When that happens, you get over $2,000. You got to take 5% of that debt and count it against your debt-to-income ratio. Or you've got to pay it off or already be in a payment plan and made 3 payments on time. And, of course, all that counts into your debt-to-income ratio, even if it's a charge-off, right? And it doesn't matter anymore. And I'm all for paying those bills and paying those collections, and you need to do that. However, this is a major change that's going to affect potentially millions of Americans. Also, judgments now have to already be paid. It used to be with FHA, that was one of the benefits, is if you had a judgment on there from past life, if you will, you would be able to get away with that. Well, you can't anymore. You've got to be in a payment plan, and you got to have 3 payments, or it has to already be paid. So there's no leeway there anymore. That's as of October 15th this year. And lastly, QM, qualified mortgage. Guys, holy cow. Now, there's been some pushback. Thank you to the Realtor lobby, more than our own mortgage lobby, because we just have weak lobbies. But on the coalition list of people trying to push back on this, which I'm so glad they are, they're trying to slow this down. But if nothing happens, come January, there are some major changes. Not only are they're restricting the debt-to-income ratio. So in other words, where you used to be able to make let's say you made $5,000 a month. Well, you may be able to, if your total debts were $1,000 a month, you may be able to have another $1,000 a month in a mortgage payment and be okay. Well, now, and you qualify, right, based on your debt-to-income ratio, or sometimes even more. Well, now that's changing, and it's getting lower. So your debt-to-income ratio is getting tightened, so you have to make more money to qualify for the same amount of house. Rates are going to be going up, and now they are trying to push that you need 20 or 30% down to be qualified as a qualified mortgage. And if you don't have 30% down, that just means you're subject to higher rates and higher costs. So everything they tried to do these last few years to say, we want everyone to have the same rates, we want everyone to have the lowest rates, best costs, all that stuff. Well, now that's going away, potentially, unless you have 30% down. And so if you don't, some of the rates that are out there today, even if the rates are where they are at today, they're going to be higher because you're not going to qualify for a QM loan, a qualified mortgage. And those are the standards that they're pushing towards the bank to keep them in line with their risk tolerance for the marketplace. So here's the deal. What I want you to say is if you're in the real estate business now or in the mortgage business, you need to lobby. You need to go on to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk, click our link and complain and say to push this back, because this hurts minority people. This hurts people that are low to medium income workers and earners. They've got to pay more, right? Because they don't make as much and they don't have the down payment. And they're trying to just make it and buy a home, and we need them to buy a home. This is not helping the housing market. So let's fight back. We've got a few months to do it. Let's get this done. Let's kill this stupid thing. Let's get some more reasonable qualified mortgage restrictions and 30% down payment. And let's help people buy homes and have the American dream of home ownership. That's what we want to do. Help us do that by going on to Tuttle Talk and helping us stop this stupidity. Okay, guys, coming up. Oh, by the way, if you are renting right now and you want to buy, here's what you need to do. You need to text the word rent and how much you're paying in rent. Text rent and how much you're paying in rent to 469-319-0660. 469-319-0660. We're going to give you a rent-to-own analysis for free so you can see what you can really qualify for and what it would look like for you to buy a home so you can understand the numbers, because that's so critical. So that's our gift to you. Please text us. Text rent with how much you currently pay in rent to 469-319-0660, and we'll take care of you. You're listening to Tuttle Talk. Coming up, we're going to get another horror story from our insurance guru, John Allen. And we had a lot of calls on this last week. A lot of great feedback on this. So we're going to tell you another horror story and make sure that is not yours. And then we're going to get with Gabe Abshire to show you how to check if your house is haunted. All that next. Welcome back. You are listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in the community. Coming up in the second half of our show, we've got Laura Barnett and Robert DeLeon over at REMAX, DFW and Associates, a powerhouse realtor in Laura Barnett, one of the best in the country, and their office manager, Robert DeLeon, who really understands how to run that ship. And why the reason I want to share that with you is because I tell you what, when you're working with a realtor, it's important that they've got the support that they need on the back end of things, and they have that there at REMAX. So very excited to bring that to you. Right now, though, let's get to our insurance horror stories. Well, I loved that extra on top of the music. That was really good, guys. It really felt scarier that way. Well, John Allen, owner of Texas Community Insurance, here with us today. John, last week you shared with us, and I know this is after Halloween, but who cares? It's in the same week. Still works. Those of us that love Halloween are extending it.
It's the holiday that stays with us for several weeks, actually. Yes.
No kidding. So you had one with us last week, buddy, and that was one horror story about the toilet leak or something.
The line in the wall. Pipe leak, the line in the wall. That's
that
right.
is definitely a horror story. So this week, there are even more ways than that could cause you some pain and a fright.
Yeah, leaving the Cowboys snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Oh, geez.
Because it's not an insurance issue. So second place then, therefore, would go to this one. I actually talked to a lady within the last month that had insurance, but her insurance policy did not cover wind or hail. Now think about that for a second. 51% of all property claims in Texas are wind or hail related.
How is that? Yeah, how does that even happen?
So you don't have wind. Are you sure you understand what you're telling me? She says, yeah, so I don't have wind hail coverage. I said, why not? She said, well, my house is new. So I said, so let's role play this for a second. The storm clouds roll in, and see that your house is new and they just go right by, or maybe your house is impervious to tornadoes. Is that what you're saying? And she's like, are you making fun of me? I'm like, kinda, yeah. I mean, that's, with all due respect, that's just absolutely ridiculous. And more importantly, who would let you buy that? Maybe you don't really think that through, but who would let you buy that?
So wait a second. So I thought that falls under there's the 7 perils or something, right? That you have to have coverage for.
There's 18 in all, but the basic form covers 7, and that for somehow she was able to find a policy that excluded wind hail. You know, you'll see that in some territories that are coastal. You know, there's certain kinds of areas where there's certain kind of risks they won't write. But here in Texas or in North Texas rather, in McKinney, really? So. Yeah, don't do that, guys. Just tip, don't do that. Don't take a policy that doesn't have wind or hail. It's like buying a car with no tires.
Right.
It's kind of pointless.
Yeah, no kidding.
No AC in Texas.
Yeah. So how do you, because, I mean, that's, and weren't you saying, what are the statistics on how much wind and hail and stuff we get here in Texas anyway?
Well, so
51%?
51% of all property claims are wind hail. Do you remember 2 years ago in April of 2011, we had 2 of the top 10 hailstorms of all time about 7 days apart, and we saw auto claims where there was so much hail that it literally collapsed the roof of the cars. There was so much hail hitting it. A lot of you remember that, right? I mean, that's a big deal. Can you imagine having a policy that doesn't cover that?
Right.
That's nuts.
And I tell you, and if you can, it's such a horror story, because especially when you want to, like, we have people that we help all the time, Gabe, I know through some companies that you connected us with the roofing company, First Solution. That, you know, they a lot of times can help work with the insurance companies if you got some damage to have the insurance company cover it, and that could be $5,000.
It's almost always
your
covered.
deductible. Yeah, except for your deductible typically, right?
Well, you're at your deductible,
Yeah,
but when it's wind hail, boom, it's an absolute automatic.
Yeah.
You know why she bought the policy? Because it was cheaper.
Of course.
How many times have we said that? Just because it's cheap doesn't mean that it's good, right?
That's the real horror story here, is people trying to save money and end up costing themselves not only money, but just time and pain. So what if you pay, an extra $20 or $40 a month, or I don't know, $100 a month?
Yeah. It wasn't a lot it certainly wasn't worth whatever they saved on premium.
Yeah. Because that's $10,000 plus just the headache of having it, and the leaking of the if it does bust to damage, and all of a sudden now it's leaked everywhere else. I mean, there's just all kinds of problems that you can face there that you don't want to have to. So don't let that be your horror story. If you have a horror story that's better than that, go to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. We want to hear about it. Even
if it's not better than that, if it's even anywhere near the same scale, we'd love to hear about it.
Is that way? Yeah. Can you say better than that? Worse than that, really? Because that's not good. It's worse when it actually happens, when you didn't get the policy and then something happens to your house. Kind of like with the toilet line, because it floods or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's just horrible. So you don't want to do that. Okay. Don't let that be your story, guys. You can text the word insurance if you want to check out your policy and you want to find out, one, what are your coverages? Make sure you are covered, because if you got a discounted policy that was better than everybody else in town, most likely you don't have everything covered. So if you want to get that checked out, John will actually review that for you. You can text us at 469-319-0660, 469-319-0660. Text the word insurance, and we will get you out an insurance review so you can find out exactly what coverage is and make sure that you are properly covered. You're listening here to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network. Now I turn to you, Mr. Abshire. Mr. Gabe Abshire, welcome back to the show, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. Good to see you, Daddy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Proud Papa right here.
Proud Papa.
Proud, exhausted Papa.
You have a
Papa.
different aura about you.
I've just been very mean today.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think you, Daddy, being a daddy does you well.
Thank you very much. I'm like hyper focused.
Yeah, there's no need. You all your life you thought you really needed 8 hours of sleep, but you function perfectly well on an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh, and I so don't. But man, that is, on a quick aside, that's the most challenging part, because he's not getting to the point where he's sleeping a lot yet. Like, he's eating sometimes every hour, especially at night, and he's just fussy and not. And so we're trading off, because we're doing some still breast milk, but we're still bottling to help him because he's just small, and there's some of those things that you got to do. And so we're taking off some time trying to give each other sleep. And boy, that's the biggest challenge right now, because he's so cute and love that guy. Man, even when he's like in the middle of the night, like crying and upset, it's like, oh man, you freaking cute crier. And I've never been so proud of someone pooping in my life. It's like, man, that's the best poop I've ever seen. Score!
That's just so wrong.
You know you've done it. Come on, don't tell me. You tell me you come into your wife. Baby, come here. You got to see this.
He doesn't have little kids, though. That's
How'd that happen? We'll check back with you in a couple of months.
Right, yes. Right, exactly. I'm going to be like this. Hello, real estate radio.
He pooped again.
He pooped so much. He's pooping right now while I'm on radio. I know it. He's pooping. So, keeping in the Halloween spirit and the horror stories of Halloween and all of those things, there is a way to make sure that the actual horrors that could happen around Halloween, some of the stuff that happens is silly, but some of the stuff happens not only around Halloween but all times, could give you your own horror story. Someone breaks into your house and does those things, and there's just peace of mind that comes with security. And one of the companies that you guys work and help set up and support is a really innovative security company. Yeah,
we work with a company, AAA Home Security, a local company here in Dallas, Texas, and we they market a product called 2GIG, and basically it's home automation for everyone. So any type of applications you can use that. You can control lights, you can control thermostats, you can control locks. So in keeping with the Halloween theme, if you want to be really scary, you could put a radio in your yard or some kind of siren in your yard and just have that motion sensor kick it, and as soon as the kids walk up, it scares them. Or you can just push a button on your phone and you turn the light off and you can tell the kids no more, we're done, no more trick-or-treating. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. It's a very versatile system, and the great thing about it, you can really, anything that you can imagine, you can do.
And I would imagine too that if you needed to check for ghosts, one of the best ways to do that is motion.
Sure, yeah, there's actually new cameras out now.
Perfect.
That pick up on motion. And the great thing about it is that when you see that ghost coming, it'll zoom in on the ghost, take a tight picture of it, and then zoom out and take another picture, and it'll text you those two pictures to your camera.
Doesn't there have to be matter, though, for the motion I can't say it, the motion sensor to pick that up?
No, these are Ghostbuster approved.
Got it.
These are Ghostbuster approved cameras.
Dude, they had that in the stinking 80s.
Yes.
Come on.
I know, I'm sorry.
Didn't you ever watch the documentary Ghostbusters?
It's not in the insurance manual. I think that's what the
documentary.
Yeah.
Just these guys, I tell you what. I'll learn you, John. I'll learn you. All right. Well, I tell you, if you want to pick up that security, I told you I'd do this, remember. This is what we're going to do every week so you can have easy access. If you want to check your security system out, see how it stands up to snuff, because I tell you, I've had a couple ones of the most famous ones. I won't mention their names right now, but really they're way overpriced and they don't do anything. They're just like a big noisemaker. So if you want more than just a noisemaker, text the word security right now to 469-319-0660. 469-319-0660 will get you out basically a free review of your current security system and let you know some of the options of getting set up something that's really going to protect you and your family. Coming up, we're going to get with our special guests today, Robert DeLeon and Laura Barnett of REMAX, DFW and Associates, and then we're going to get to more cool tech with Brian Moore. Some really cool things are brewing, so stay with us. Welcome back. You're listening to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in the community. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm very excited about my next set of guests. We have Laura Barnett from REMAX DFW Associates and Associates, one of not only the premier realtors here in the DFW area, but also in the nation. She's got over $20 million, or is slated to do over $20 million in production in 2013 in personal sales. She's a true professional and an expert and has been in this game for almost over 20 years, or almost 20 years?
23.
23 years. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Glad to do it.
And then we have Mr. Robert DeLeon, a jokester, a hipster. No, not a hipster. The office manager over at, and both broker associates over at REMAX, DFW and Associates, but the office manager making everything run, making that ship run. Like I was telling you earlier, it's great to deal with a good agent and to have that, but they also need support too to make sure that your process and your transaction goes smoothly. Robert makes sure that happens, and it's very important that the office functions in a way that there's just so many moving parts now. There's over 9 companies and 30 people now that deal with each given transaction on a home loan. So it's very important to have experts in every area of the transaction. So, Robert, thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, good. All right. And then Gabe here is staying with us this next couple of segments, Utility Concierge Man, because I'm so excited that we have some more top agents that are using your services, because it's so critical that people understand the importance and the value that you could bring. So thanks for sticking around for me, buddy. Okay, Laura, you've been in the game 23 years. You've seen, obviously, both of you, and Robert, how long have you been in this business?
This will be 14 years for me.
14 years, okay, and 12 for me. That's great. And so we've been in a while. Everybody knows what they're doing here. That's important. So, Laura, when we were talking about some things and you seeing the ups and downs of the markets here, how would you compare this year in 2013 to the last 5 years?
This year was crazy. This year, just January 1, something happened. It just exploded. And I don't think we were ready for it. I think it caught us off guard a little bit, but by golly, we got with it. We got going. The past years before that, we were coming out of a recession. People were a little leery, but somebody must have made an announcement and said, we have hit the bottom by now. and it has been since January. It's tough to get a day off. It's we literally are on the phone all the time.
And you have a team too, don't you?
I don't have a team. I'm an individual. I have a network of agents I refer to when we get signed calls and things like that. I have a smoking assistant that she just really works hard and she does a lot of stuff, and it's just amazing what we get done in the office, where we are top producers and we have great systems and we're in place.
Okay, so now, as being a top producer, you can go anywhere and can be attached to any company you want, and there's a lot of real estate brokerages out there. Why, not just REMAX, but specifically REMAX, DFW, and Associates, why REMAX there? Why are you there?
REMAX.
Throwing you I'm putting you on the spot, Robert. He's like, what are you doing?
Now I'm sweating.
The numbers have to work. I compare to all of them, and really REMAX makes the numbers work the best. But by the same token, they're very professional. They even, always are quizzing us on the legal updates and things that we a lot of times don't have time to look at.
Right.
And so you really need somebody who's really given that their full-time concentration when we're out doing all the other things. And so we get those briefings, we get those emails, the latest technology, everything that comes in, they're bringing that to us and keeping us up to date on it. I really don't want to do management.
Right.
I am a broker, not just an agent, but I don't want that job. I know what I'm good at, and I know what they're good at, and I like it the way it is.
Good. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. We're talking with Laura Barnett and Robert DeLeon of REMAX DFW and Associates. Robert, as the office manager there, now we know Laura is a top producer, and she says, well, this year's been just fantastic. Now, you've got a lot of great talent at your office, but sometimes certain agents go, yeah, it's been awesome, and other agents are like, no, it's not really been that great. It's not been different. Now, so you have a different perspective because you get to you're working with a ton of different agents. How do you see this market, and how are your agents seeing this market as versus the last 5 years?
That's a great question. I love coming into the office because I love hearing enthusiasm at a high level, like you just heard from Laura here. When you have true professionals in the real estate industry that are focused full-time, full service, and the goal that they have is to have the best possible transaction for their clients. It inspires everyone in the office, and I'm a big believer that success breeds success. And people, whether they're the top producers in our offices or the median income producers in our office, they are not intimidated by one another. They love to share with one another. I have so many agents that come to me and want to be involved with showing agents around the office, training, what can we do with share, because they understand that when there's the other agents in the office have success in real estate, that it affects everybody's business all the way around. And I think we have true entrepreneurs there, all the way from Dave Leniger, the co-founder of REMAX, down to Mark Wolf, the broker-owner of REMAX DFW Associates, and they want to follow suit. And it's very inspiring.
It's great for the culture. It really helps the culture.
It's phenomenal.
So when you're looking at this year now, Laura, and it's been spectacular, and we have heard that everywhere. It's just, gangbusters. It's can't pick up the phone fast enough. It's going back, early 2000s for us in the mortgage industry. Is just pick up a phone and somebody's breathing and you're doing a loan. And so now, this is great. Do you have a pulse? I think so. Okay,
Experienced a lot.
Those were the days.
I can't tell you how many people I worked with. Really? You qualify?
Exactly. I can buy $1 million worth of a home. I don't know. That's what the numbers say. I make $4,000 a year. Are you sure? So, Laura, this winter, right? We're in the fall. So, are you seeing what kind of pace are you seeing now versus just a couple of months ago, and what are you projecting going in the next few months as far as how the housing market?
Well, I have 5 closings this week.
That'll say a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't stop. We really don't. You just pray you can get your taxes done. I mean, it's just that
It's too late
busy.
for that, by the way. Bad news, Laura. 2 weeks overdue. I got mine done on October 14th. Thank you very much.
Yay, good job.
It was good. Well, my CPA did. I was like, I'm sorry it took me forever to get you all
It
of
would
the
be
stuff you
poor
needed.
time management to do it any other.
Exactly. A procrastinator's dream. So are you seeing it slowing down? I guess you're not. So you're just you're just going strong all the way through the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have relocation buyers every weekend.
Relocation buyers. So that brings up an interesting point. So you have a lot of people. Where are the people that where are they relocating from typically? And why Dallas? Why do you think Dallas is such a great place to live right now?
A lot of companies are relocating here. We just have a better tax benefits for those companies to come. They want to be here. Our cost of living is really low, so the employees want to come. Our housing market's one of the least expensive in the nation, really. And so, all those factors together, there's a lot of perks here.
Yeah. Where are you seeing most people relocating from in your business?
All over, everywhere. As a matter of fact, we were just
Worldwide.
talking about Time Magazine has an issue out this month. I think the United States of Texas, if I'm not mistaken, something like that is the title of it. and all the different people that are coming in from all over the nation to come here because it just makes sense. It's a good area. We recovered from the recession really fast. Part of that is partly because we have oil here and everything else, but our foreclosure rate was just a fraction of what everybody else's was in the recession. And so with that said, it's a stable investment.
Like you said earlier, you make the numbers work. Texas makes the numbers work. We've got good diversified employment. We don't get crazy appreciation rates. We're steady. We're the tortoise. We always steady growth, though, and it's manageable and predictable in a sense, and that helps people feel secure, helps want to move here, and that's a great place to be. Texas is a great place to be. Be careful. I told you we could secede if you don't watch out. You're listening to Tuttle Talk. It could happen. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Coming up, as a part of the show, we want to make sure we're always giving great tips for buyers and sellers and what you need to look for when you are in the market right now. We're going to get back with Laura and Robert and hear from the experts on what are some great tips that could save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of stress. Next. And we're back. Welcome back, Dallas. Thank you so much for staying with us. What a power-packed hour we have. You are listening to Tuttle Talk. My special guests today, Laura Barnett and Robert DeLeon of REMAX DFW Associates. Guys, thank you so much for staying with us here. I know the last segment we talked generally about Dallas and what's going on in the market and the state of the market, and we got some really good information from you, kind of a great perspective, I think, about how hot the market is and how you feel it's going to stay hot. But, Robert, I have a more practical question because, again, one of the points of this show is to provide practical tips for buyers and sellers in this market. And so what, for buyers out there right now, or sellers really, what do you think are some key points of advice that they need to take with them to make sure that they have a perfect purchase?
You know, Andy, I think today more than ever, it's really important for consumers to start doing their research in advance, getting connected with a full-time, full-service realtor, working with top-notch professional lenders, and letting them, like Andy Tuttle, and putting together a plan to buy or sell in order to get what they want, when they want, in the time frame they want, at the price they want. You know, I mean, there's just so much. The market's always changing. The rules on financing have changed. I mean, that almost daily we're having to deal with changes in terms and programs out there. But not only that, especially when you work in a market like this here, where you do have people coming here, and when people relocate here, it's more than just wow, I can get a great deal on a house here compared to the East Coast and West Coast, right? I'd like to buy 2 houses versus 1 on there, right? But here it's about communities, and it's about what the cities have to offer, and the agents, they spend, like Laura, spends so much time staying current with what's going on in the market, what's out there in inventory, what's in her client's best interest.
So I think all of that is so important because your part-time agent Aunt Susie from Minnesota that wants to help you buy or sell your house down here is not the person you want to go to, even though you think because she took a discounted commission that she's saving you money. You're going to be spending 10 times that in not only frustration but actual dollars you can lose on your house. So you don't have a great negotiator either buying or selling. If you don't have a great negotiator on the sell side that'll stand the ground for that price and justify it and help you sell it, then you're losing a lot of money. If you don't have as a buyer someone that can help you negotiate and find the holes in that and get you to get that seller to come off that price if you need it, or find you the best spot where you want to raise your kids, then you're losing a ton of money and a ton of time. And so I know, though, that the process and the importance of a realtor goes well beyond just finding the house and negotiating the contract. And Robert, one of the things you mentioned to me on the break was that one of the things you respect so much about Laura is that she feels her job almost just starts at the contract.
Putting together the buyer plan or the seller plan is one thing, but once you get a contract, that's when really the important work needs going.
And Laura, that's where you do that important work. What do you think for a buyer that may be in a contract right now? What are some tips for them, or a seller that's got the contract on their house? What are some things that you think that you do for your clients and that a client needs to know, or homeowner needs to know, that, hey, do this because it's going to alleviate some stress on you during this process?
We try to do things, you're right, to just simplify it. They're already stressed out. They've got enough going on. They don't need any more. But we have just a group of professionals that we work with, from inspectors to handymen to, of course, loan officers. and Utility Concierge is a good example. It's a company that, they can just hook up all their utilities, and it's one less thing that they have to think about. They're trying to think about so many things, and they're moving, and but they still have to take the kids to soccer practice, and they still have to do everything in a normal life that everybody does every day.
Right.
And we're stressed out with that. So we try to take as much as we can off their hands so that it's just they can concentrate on what they need to focus on.
And that is a big deal, and I do love that. Thank you, Laura. Look at you, Gabe.
Thank you very much.
Aren't you glad you stuck around?
I'm glad I stuck around today.
That is a plug right there, if I've ever heard one. And it's true, because there's so many things that you got to connect: your electricity, your security, your internet, your cable, your phone, whatever. And that's a lot of calls. But if you make one call, Utility Concierge sets it up, and you're good to go. And I love that about what you guys do. In fact, if you want to get connected today to that and find out where you're at, you can text the word utility. Text utility to 469-319-0660, 469-319-0660, and we'll get you connected. Basically a free analysis on your current utility plan. Right, Gabe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talked about folks relocating and how stressful it is. And, Dallas has a lot more choices, or Texas has a lot more choices than anywhere else in the country. So we're a great help for people that are relocating because they just don't know what's available here. And then also for folks that's been in their home for a couple of years and their contracts might ran out, and people know they're paying too much for stuff. They just don't have the time to do it. They know that, if they spend 2 hours on the phone with their providers griping, they're going to get a better deal. Well, that's what we do for them. So they know they're paying too much. They just need to get in touch with us, and we'll find out how we can save them some money.
Yeah, Andy, I was actually going to add that not only do these guys work with the agents and hooking up their new transactions that are closing, but their current clients as well. It's a reason to connect with them, and I've used the service personally myself, and it's great because I was just talking about changes in real estate and lending, but what about changes in utility companies? I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people. Hey, I saw an ad on TV for ABC company and providing this service, and then I call and check on it, it's not available. So how about calling Utility Concierge and getting it? They tell you everything that's available in that area. It's really awesome.
There's a lot of changes there too, and I appreciate that. And Laura, I know that you stick with it, like Robert was saying. You keep up with a lot of changes, and you feel the ones that you can't keep up with, Robert and the team there helps keep up with. So it's a nice team, right, atmosphere. So Speaking of changes, though, as far as coming up in this next year, and I would say maybe some advice to buyers right now from you, one of the premier experts, especially in our marketplace, but really in the nation, that you would give to, based on the coming changes coming up, what's some of the best advice right now you can give to people that are thinking about either getting in the market to buy or thinking about maybe putting their house on the market?
I would say buy soon. Buy as soon as you can right now. With everything that we're seeing coming down the pipeline, it's going to get harder, I'm afraid, with the lenders, and they need to hurry up and get qualified. Call a lender, get qualified, see what you can, what you can afford to buy, and certainly, make a conscious decision. If you call the realtor, they can start sending you homes. A lot of the sites that they go to online, they're nice, but they're not current. So
Right.
Getting with a good realtor, they can set you up on a site with things that are truly on the market and give them a good idea of what they can get for their money. So between those two things, they can start doing quite a bit of the research at home.
I love that. Well, Laura Barnett, Robert DeLeon, thank you so much for your advice and your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Love to have you back. Remember, if you want to purchase, if you're looking to purchase right now and you want to you're in that early stage and you don't know, text the word purchase. The word purchase to 469-319-0660. Not only are you going to get my free article about the 3 Ps to a perfect purchase, you're going to get that, but you're also going to get connected. We'll have one of our team call you and talk to you about where you're at in the process and get you set up with Laura to have a discussion about what really needs to take place to make sure that you have the perfect purchase either at the end of this year or in the coming year. So we're happy to do that for you. So you can reach out to us, 469-319-0660, and we'll set that up. And as usual, we are out of time, but I am still going to squeeze it. If I knew people watch Jimmy Kimmel that listen to this show, because if I did, I would use the Matt Damon joke every time.
Yes.
But very quickly, you said it took you 3 minutes. I need you to do it in 30 seconds.
Wow, okay.
What is the more
And
cool
go.
tech segment today? Go!
Today we have an app called Duolingo. Duolingo, Duolingo. It is very helpful for, especially people here in Texas, need to learn a second language like Spanish. This app, you just start it up on your phone, and it's got different levels. It'll start you off with the basics and everything from vocabulary, how to make a sentence, but without making you sit there and repeat the same word over and over, not the way the schools do it. They also have a very cool website you can go to that's tied in perfectly with the app. I've actually gotten a couple of people started on this, and now Heather and I at the office actually text each other in Spanish.
Oh, that is fantastic. Say abbreviated, do a call to action, but in Spanish.
Si usted quiere aprender más español, tú puedes ir a la página de web duolingo.com.
Well, there it is.
Wow.
It works.
Wow, that's
I
impressive.
think that's not how he learned Spanish.
That all happened right now.
Wow, that was live. All right. Thank you, sir. What a great segment. What a great show. I want to thank our special guests today, of course, Laura Barnett and Robert DeLeon. I'd like to thank my expert contributors, John Allen at Texas Community Insurance and Gabe Abshire over at Utility Concierge. Of course, Brian, thank you for always bringing it, brother. And I'd like to thank Dan Bradford, our production director, and the entire family here at 660 AM The Answer. That's it for today's show. Don't forget, you can call us, reach out to us, 469-319-0660, or get access to all past shows and get involved in the community at andytuttle.com. Thank you for listening to Tuttle Talk, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in the community. Have a great weekend.
You've been listening to Tuttle Talk on 660 AM The Answer. You can reach Andy at 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696. Or email him, questions@andytuttle.com. Don't forget to become a fan of his show by going to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. You can also catch previous shows by going to andytuttle.com.